There's also lots of action in the crypto markets today. The price of Bitcoin is sliding, hitting the lowest level that we've seen in just about a month. Now, the move lower comes as El Salvador also becomes the first country to adopt Bitcoin as its currency. We want to bring in Dan Roberts, editor-in-chief of Decrypt, here to help us break down not only what the El Salvador news means for the future of crypto, but more importantly, the slide, Dan, that we're seeing today in the price of Bitcoin. We are well off the lows, but what do you make of today's sell-off?
Well, Shauna, we saw billions of dollars in market cap wiped out and also billions of dollars in long positions liquidated today. But you mentioned El Salvador. It is tempting to point to the El Salvador move as the first trigger today in this sell-off. Also, of course, as I always say in these hits, you periodically do see some profit taking when things got very high and the crypto market got very frothy. I mean, Ethereum was approaching all-time highs. Bitcoin was back above 50,000. Now, today was day one, officially, launch day of El Salvador's big Bitcoin experiment, recognizing Bitcoin as legal tender. And it is not without controversy. I mean, not only have a number of surveys showed that Salvadorans don't generally want to pay with Bitcoin, but the country and President Nayib Bukele has also been criticized for basically making it mandatory for merchants in El Salvador. A lot of people have really criticized this embrace, saying that Bukele kind of went too far. And so today was day one. You might have had an example of buy the rumor, sell the news, where people who had loaded up on Bitcoin because of this El Salvador news, which did drive it a little bit higher at times, dumped it today knowing today was day one. But again, you also had tons of leveraged positions, especially on exchanges like Bybit, which allows 100x leverage. So a lot at once. But I should say for the viewers that we have already started to creep back. So there was profit taking, there was a sell-off, and now you see believers start to buy back in again. What does the El Salvador news mean for crypto? It might not mean much in the long run. I mean, Bitcoin bulls have been framing this as everything. They say other countries will follow suit, but maybe not, because it has been heavily criticized, especially because so many Salvadorans don't have access to fast internet, and paying with Bitcoin is typically going to demand a smartphone with great internet access.
That's interesting, Dan, because I think a lot of people, like you were saying, going into this, they were saying that this could be a huge step forward for mainstream adoption. We could potentially see other countries follow suit. But when you take a look, and we know it's just the first day, but certainly there have been some hiccups in this rollout. And what you were saying, just in terms of not everyone is excited within the country about this becoming the national currency, then maybe it doesn't mean that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies get adopted here from other countries anytime soon.
Well, not only that, Shauna, but the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who is this huge Bitcoin bull, he tweeted and tried to blame the IMF for the pullback today. Now, of course, it's not breaking news. It happened a couple months ago, but the IMF has come out pretty strong against what El Salvador is doing. This is an IMF blog post from late July. It says, crypto assets as national currency, a step too far. And he did not like that, and he has tried to frame them as, you know, trying to chill innovation. So again, it kind of depends which side you think has the momentum here. There are people who think that regardless of criticism, the first country to officially recognize Bitcoin as legal tender in its country is a major milestone. And I think that's true, but it doesn't automatically mean that other countries are going to follow suit. Personally, I think a better bullish signal has just been the number of big publicly traded companies and institutions and investment firms on Wall Street flooding into crypto that previously, maybe as recently as 2 years ago, were big skeptics. I think that's been kind of a bigger bullish signal.
Dan, I also want to mention the action, and you brought this up in your notes, that we're seeing in Solana today, because they're bucking this massive downward trend that we're seeing in so many other cryptocurrencies. It's actually up, 7.5% right now. Why are we seeing some gains here when the industry at large, it seems like, is under pressure today?
Well, Solana is this very hot Ethereum challenger. It's a separate blockchain for smart contracts. In fact, it rolled out its own NFT collection that a lot of people have flooded into. Those NFTs have sold for a lot of money. The native token is SOL, S-O-L, and it has just been on fire for the past few weeks. You're right that it kind of bucked today's market pullback. Now, that said, all the time, these altcoins surge on a short-term basis, often because of a couple steps or news events. And it's always about the community that really apes in and believes in it and rah, rah, rah. The question is, when you see these altcoins, from number 5 and on by market cap surging, Well, how long is it sustainable for? Is it a momentary thing and then the people who've made money on it are going to dump? You just don't know. But Solana is definitely worth watching. It's very interesting. And as I mentioned, an extremely passionate community of people who think that it's faster and cheaper than Ethereum and could eventually leapfrog it. Recently, Solana overtook Dogecoin by market cap.
Oh, that's interesting. Certainly something to watch here. Dan Roberts, thanks as always for joining us. I'll talk with you again next week.